Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Mr. Grimm. You can call me Tony. Many people refer to me as Mr. Grimm. I'm not sure if you heard what I said a few seconds ago. I said good morning.
Good morning.
When Karen and I arranged to have this day, she said to me that most of you were going to be big ball players. And I said, what time will we get together? I don't want to stereotype, but most big ball players are just maybe getting up at this time. Maybe about 11, maybe about 12, and getting here about 2 o'clock. Why do I say this? Because it says a lot about all of you to be here today at this hour, and you're big ball players when we're generally not here at this time. It says a lot for you to be here. And I'm really glad to be here with you. I'm so proud that you're here at this time because I think we're sharing something. We share a particular vision. The vision is not only to make ourselves better, but in order to make this game even that much better. We would not be here today had it not been for the efforts, the tireless efforts, sometimes the thankless efforts of people like Karen. So how about giving Karen and Jared and Dwight a round of applause? Just the session is not going to be lengthy. It's more of a starter, but it will allow you, should you become a member of the United States Handball Association, it will allow you to be certified. It will certainly, our hope is, increase your knowledge of the game even somewhat. Although, as I have spoken to some of you already, you know a lot about the sport.
Tony, that's a small ball. No. Yeah, that's a small ball player.
There's going to be 3 parts to this presentation. A bit of a short introduction, a little bit about the nature, if you want, the philosophy of refereeing, and then the heart of the presentation, a little bit about the rules, a little bit about myself. I teach at St. Francis West, not too far from here. And in my 7th year, I was asked to become coach of the handball team. After a year, I realized that if we wanted to be a better team and my players to be better players, we had to go to tournaments. I was excited when I heard that there was a national tournament at Coney Island. So I convinced my players to go there. I was amazed at the athleticism that I saw. I was brokenhearted when I saw the disputes, the fighting between the players and the referee, sometimes the spectators, the discussions, the angry discussions between the referees and the tournament desk, the disruptions have continued to this day. And then I inquired, how can we make this game that is called the perfect game? How can we actually make it more perfect? How can we eliminate some of the angry animosity that occurs between players and referees? I'm not sure if there's an answer to that because you know it as I do too. Even until today, there continues to be dissension. In spite of that, we're here to try to make this game that we call the perfect game that much more perfect. How? By going through this process of having the referees clinic. So, what I did in 2004 was inquired, how do you become a referee? The United States Handball Association has a certification process. This is part of it. You become a USHA member, you will receive level 1 certification. If you take an open book test, as I did in 2004, you will receive level 2 certification. I don't know to give you my answers, but here's my test and certification for 2004. It's an open book test. It's designed for you to work through this book. Many of you would be able to pass the test easily. The problem that the test sets up is for you to ground your answers not only based on your experience of the game, but within the rules. I can't tell you how many times a player will say to me, "Where did you get that rule, Mr. Grimm?" What's it here? If you notice, this is the 1995 version, the 2000 version, the 2013. These are the printed versions. There are differences in them. Dramatic differences, perhaps. A lot? No, not a lot. It's relatively the same, but they become updated. Should you work through this and take what's currently the 118 question test and get 5 or less wrong, get to level 2. How do you get to level 3? Many of you, some of you who are sitting here are already, if you want to use the word grandfathered, because of your prior experience, you will already have achieved level 3. Some of you, a small number, will have already achieved level 4. Level 3 is to be observed by a level 4 or 5 referee and pass the observation as you're conducting any kind of match, and if you pass, you get level 3. Level 4 is to referee and be observed semi-final or final in your big tournaments like Game of the Courts or your national tournaments, where you get the best of the best players. And generally speaking, it's a bit tougher to be able to officiate. If you're observed by level 4 or 5 and pass that, you get your level 4 certification. Level 5 is the same as the level 4, except that you're able to conduct a referee's clinic to be able to assist others to get their certification. That's the only difference with level 5. Currently, there are only 4 level 5 nationwide. My hope is that you have as a goal, among others, to become a level 5 referee. I dream one day of having 5 level 5 referees refereeing all the time. That's my hope. So that's a bit of an introduction. Raise your hand if you're a handball player. Raise your hand if you're a tournament player. Raise your hand. Take a look. Well, if you've been or if you're even current. Look around, look around. It's almost all of you. How many of you hope that when the tournament director or the tournament desk assigns a referee to your match, that you're hoping for a lousy referee? Raise your hand. Look around. Nobody's raising their hand. How many of you are hoping for a good referee? Raise your hand. Serious question. How many players, from the youngest, the most inexperienced, to the open players, how many players deserve a good referee? Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you think all of them. What are the qualities of a good referee? Now, before you answer, are you ready? I need Jared's help. Jared is football. Jared is going to give you, for an answer that I have here in my notes, if you give me an answer that I have, he's going to give you a ticket. All of you will receive 1 ticket, by the way, just for being here today. We're going to have a raffle at the end. Should you win the raffle, you may have an eye guard. Should you win the raffle, you may have gloves. Should you win the raffle, you may have a ball. So, what does it take to be? What qualities does it take, bro?
Besides knowing,
Besides what?
knowing the rules, paying attention.
Wait. Jared? Besides knowing the rules.
Paying
So can
attention.
you give Raul three tickets? Yes, tell me your name.
David.
David.
Does this include the one for just coming?
No.
So everyone gets one. We'll give them at the end.
Okay.
All right.
Sportsmanship, keeping calm in the court, keeping control of the situation, making sure that nobody's yelling at nobody, trying to keep the situation calm.
So keeping calm. I didn't have sportsmanship. Well done though. So 1 for for David. Yes. Fairness. Fairness.
Well, you took my answer.
Larry, I have firm later on in terms of the mechanics, but well done that you added it here. A quality, a skill to have. How many times have you seen referees doing this? Yeah, 2-1. Then maybe not even paying attention to the game.
Being attentive.
Being attentive. Well done. Tell me your name, please. Anthony.
On my mother.
I was going to say the consistency and focus.
Well done. Consistency in your calls. Now, we want to add consistency that, of course, if you're consistently not knowing the rules or consistently bad, that's not the kind of consistency. It's assumed that if you're going to be refereeing, that you know the rules and then you're consistent in its application. So if you're going to call a block, you're not going to call a block at 19 differently than you're going to call it at 2. If it's 2-2 or if it's 19-19, the block is the block. So it's consistency. Somebody tell me your name? Joseph. Honesty. So give the name?
Which
Anthony.
that's what I was saying. Okay.
Are we still talking about the song? So you gotta make sure you have the right people in the line.
And that's good.
That's clear.
So well done. That's part of the mechanics, and it's about fairness. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
So go ahead, Larry. Nice and loud. By the way, for questions, you'll be getting a ticket.
Let me get it out.
Yes. Go ahead, Larry.
The question is, what are the qualities of the ref?
Yes.
Having integrity. Not having something.
So integrity. I like the word integrity, but some people. What's integrity? Anthony, what was the word that you used before?
Consistency.
That's what integrity is. Integrity is consistency. You're not going to be swayed that the score is 19-19. It's like, oh, I better call the block now. Call the block. It's block if it's 0-0. You call the block if it's 19-19. So that's what integrity is. We gave them a ticket for that. Yes, bro.
Maintaining a professional attitude.
So explain professional
Well,
attitude.
if you're going to ref, you should first look the part. So you have to maintain your self-respect. In other words, if a player has an outburst, you shouldn't get caught in that outburst with him. You should find a way to keep things all calm. But first you got to be an example. You got to maintain your professionality.
So here's what I like and why we'll give a ticket to that. So you just put in an umbrella all or many of the answers. Being calm, free from emotion, being consistent, firmness in your calls, professional. Tell me your name, please. Nicholas.
When they said fair, but like not to allow other people, but not to allow other people to ignore on the court unless it's a line court. Because people are like, oh, I saw that good, and they're like, I guess you're good. Like, you know, and
So-
they'll go off of that.
So Nick is specifying one of the conditions that we encounter in order to maintain integrity,
In letting
not
them
to be
influence.
influenced by outside walls, spectators, players. So, for Nick and Jason.
Be prepared. Make sure the court's ready. You have all the balls. Everybody's got their equipment.
So we're going to speak about that in a little bit, but prior preparation prevents poor performance as a referee. The 5 P's not only of a player, but as a referee. Prior preparation, which is in the section that we call officials and officiating, pre-match duties. So, having said all that, 5 tickets. Are you ready? I'm sorry, tell me name. Joseph. Joseph. That's easy to remember.
I feel like if you ref the game, you should want to ref the game. As in like, if you're gonna ref, you should love the game. Some people play the game, and if they win, they have to ref. The referee should have the love for the game. You know what I'm saying? Just like all the players. But then you'll be attentive, like everyone's saying. You'll be interested. You'll be noticing all the details with locks, all this stuff.
Joseph brings up the very heart of the philosophy of a referee. Do me a favor. This is not a statement about anyone here. This is the reason why some people referee. There's nothing wrong with making money, but having a love of the game, not being influenced, having integrity, these are the reasons why we gather together. If we want to make this game the perfect game, we're doing our part. The players hopefully will have done their part. So well done, Joseph. Let's get the punch list. Five tickets here. Are you ready? What's the bedrock? What's the foundation of all these qualities that were mentioned? What's the absolute foundational bedrock, critical dimension of being a referee? 5 tickets for the correct answer.
Must
There's only
know,
one.
respect the rules.
There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to know the rules. Now, Malo asked me this question before, so I'm going to give him a ticket. He's not asking it, but allow me to introduce his question. So which rules are you going to follow as a referee? Because we're from West whatever street. We're from this borough. We play this way. I've heard players say, look, on a serve, you can't win the game if you serve an ace. That's 20-20. That's how we play at our park. How about if it skips on a wet spot on the serve? Point? If it's an ace? In some parks it is. Which rules are you going to follow? That park? That park? Wall ball? USHA? This presentation is based on United States Handball Association rules. If a tournament decides to suspend a rule, amend a rule, they're permitted to do that as long as everyone is following the same suspension, amendment. Otherwise, it's the same rules for everyone. So the bedrock, which is why Raul got the 5 tickets, is know the rules. Know them, love them, and referee by them. This is the 1995 version. Not terribly different from the 2000 version, but there's enough of a difference that if you're not updating yourself even before a tournament, you may not know what the updated rules are. The players may, and then they may tell you the ref, but here's where the rule, and you may keep the update. So for example, in the 4th section, the avoidables, G and H are not in the 95 version, but somewhere in between, in 2000, G and H was added. So if you're going to referee, know the rules. My strong recommendation to you is to read the rules, the updated. We now currently have a 2019 updated version. One rule was added, and you should know it. If you're going to be especially paid for it, because now you have a financial obligation, but based on what Joseph said, because it's the duty that you've assumed upon yourself for love of the game and to make it ever more perfect. How many of you, when you prepared for a tournament, you practiced? Raise your hand. You took it serious when you got into the tournament? We should too. Our practice is to read the rules, reread them, go over them, and know them so that when you're watching other referees, you know what the right call is for yourself. If you didn't make the right call after the game, go back to it and confirm where you could have done better. Yes, tell me your name, please.
Tom.
Tom.
What happened is there's a rule that you don't particularly agree with, as in getting up on the side for a play, and you pick up the guy. On the other time, if you put the ball on the running, and you still get up and play, like you got up, how are you out for that?
So, Thomas, let's just say for the sake of argument, you disagree with that rule. So as a ref, I'm not calling it. I have players, spectators, who ask me, hey, Mr. Grimm, shouldn't we? And then I stopped them immediately. With too much respect, yeah, I'm not stopping you. I wanted to hear the question. So, for a question, it's a ticket. I'm going to invite you, Thomas, and all of you who have similar questions, become part of the Rules Committee. This is not a Rules Committee clinic. It's a referees clinic. Our obligation is not to like or dislike, but to enforce these set of rules that were given to us, and the tournament directors depending on us to follow these rules. The players are depending on us to fairly and equally apply these rules. If you suspend one rule, Larry may suspend another rule, and Buddy may suspend another rule. All of a sudden, whose rules are we playing by? Playing by Thomas's, Larry's, his part. All of them have to be applied equally. I invite you to become part of the rules committee to change rules. I'll give you an example. I think it's a pretty insightful question. I still don't know why the rules committee made this rule. The top of the wall edge, what's the rule if the ball hits there? The ball is out. I don't like that rule. Why would the top of the wall, which is part of the wall, and in the fair area, I don't understand it. Why did the rules committee make it out when it's in the fair area? It's not outside of the line. It's a decent question. I didn't have a response to the person who asked me that. I said, why don't you become part of the rules committee and change it or find out why? Well, I'm going to enforce it. Hope that helps. That's our philosophy. That's the introduction. Let's get to the heart. We're not going to be able to cover every single rule. If you have questions, please ask me. But before we continue, if you don't mind, what I'm giving you here, by way of Jared, this was the rule book that I grew up on, and if you take a look at this 2000 rule book, the format is very similar to what you see here. And so, hang on, Joseph. So what you have there is simply a printed version that I continue to update. If you want me to email this to you so that, let's say in 2020, there's a slight variation and you want to update your digital version, I'll be glad to send this to you. The format is similar to this format. That's all. I like this format. Things for me stand out. You don't have to use this particular format, but you should use the rule. So Joseph, yeah.
But in one law, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's small ball or big ball, do the rules change at all? Because if this is just for small ball, you only play big ball.
That's awesome, Joseph. Jared, please.
If I refer to this,
Yeah.
big ball players. and
So
small
the
ball.
question is, the rules that you're holding, small ball only? No. So, what you're looking at is the United States Handball Association rules for small ball and big ball. You may have 5 tickets for a correct answer. Here's the question.
So wait, what?
There's only one rule that is different in that book for small ball and big ball for 5 tickets.
Are you ready?
The lady.
Cheryl.
Yeah.
No, the blocks would be the same.
That's only 4
Yes.
balls.
Tell me your name. Tell me your name. Cisco. Notice, in the United States Handball Association, the referee makes all the calls. If you're uncomfortable with that, then you guys have to make arrangements with the tournament desk so that the whole tournament is played the same way. Otherwise, what's going to happen, it's happened with me, on one side they're playing differently than on the other side. And then all of a sudden a player who's advancing now goes to the other side and all of a sudden the rules change. And now what do? So that's not, what's the one rule for 5? Dwight? Sorry.
I was thinking what you did.
Yes, Matt, your point?
Incumbent upon the tournament directors, if there can be a variation from the rules to instruct the refs before the game starts.
Yes. And this way all the referees are refereeing in the same way. Tournament directors are permitted to do that, to amend, to change whatever they want for their tournament. And now everyone is following the same rule. So let's say it is that, Cisco. The tournament director allows all the referees to have the players call their own blocks. Not a problem. USHA doesn't have a problem with that as long as the tournament director has now stipulated so that everyone is doing it. So what's the answer? Yeah,
Gloves.
gloves. Gloves. If you take a look at section 2, courts and equipment, take a look at actually just look at the front page. Courts and equipment, section 2.3 on gloves. Gloves are optional for big ball players. Everything else, Joseph, an answer to your question, these are the handball rules. Not small ball or big ball, handball rules.
Well, no, I was going to say goggles.
Eye guards are not optional.
But they're mandatory in small ball.
They're mandatory for all players. Now, if a tournament decides to suspend that rule, then all players have the ability to suspend it. I've actually seen it in the Catholic League where I coach, where some teams didn't wear it. So then my players came to me, and out of fairness, remember that value that we spoke about before? Equality? My players said, hey, Mr. Grimm, why do we have to wear eye guards and they don't? Teenagers understand fairness very quickly. So we all wear them, or we all have the option not to wear them. Yes, bro.
It pertains a little bit to the eye guards. USHA mandatory for you to have to sign a waiver depending on the type of eye guards that you wear. And some eye guards are better than others.
Yeah.
These glasses are high impact, but at the same time, they are not standard equipment. You know, is there like a balance or a
So
imbalance?
do me one favor. Go to section 2.5. Go to section 2.5. Go there. You will not see to show you to be able to answer your question. Take a look at 2.5. Take a look at the footnote. Go to 2.5. Take a look at the footnotes. I put those footnotes there because USHA speaks about ANSI recommended, ATSM recommended, and I put down in the footnotes 2.5. You see the footnotes? What ATSM, what those abbreviations are. If you take a look at 2.5, there is no waiver needed to be signed because USHA simply says we recommend that you wear these kinds that are supported by those organizations who have done the work that these kinds of polycarbonated and 3-millimeter thickness should be sufficient, but no waiver is necessary. Take a look, please. As a referee, would you allow these to be used?
No. They are protected. They're saying that.
What is your judgment on these? So now do me a favor. This is crucial, and if there's anything that you're going to learn, please remember this. Are you ready? This is crucial. If you're going to make a call, find it in the rules to support it. If it's not in the rules, then it's perhaps something of what Thomas said earlier. I don't like it.
So it's standard. I mean, that's just protection anyway.
If you take a look at 2.5, these are acceptable. Take a look at these. Are these acceptable?
Yes.
If you're saying no, if you're saying yes, where is it in the rule that supports your no or your yes? Take a look at 2.5.
No, it's no because the rule says unaltered lens.
And what's the key word before that?
Unaltered lens.
Recommended. Where does it say recommended?
USHA recommends that you select unaltered.
What's the difference between recommend and must?
You have the choice.
You have the choice. Recommendation, you have the choice. Are these permitted? 2.5 allows you to use these. Why? Because these look more official? Lensless. These are permitted. 2.5 is the support. If you say no, I would direct your attention to 2.5, and the answer is yes. There were other questions? Before we continue, Jason? By the way, who asked me the question on the iCards? Yes, let's get the ticket, yes.
So there's one new rule. How do I know which rule is new, and how do I know when there is a new rule?
I appreciate your it's a frustrating, the answer is frustrating.
Do I just compare it?
I didn't hear. I'm sorry.
So the question is, in 2020, should there be an update? Because if you just flip to the back and you see where it says updated in January 2019, how will I know that there's a 2020 update? I call USHA and I ask them, do you have any updates in 2020? And so they should give it to you what the update is when you call USHA, United States Handball Association. In the past, I took it upon myself to go through the whole book to find out what the changes were. If you notice, when you do work through this, I put down the 2017 update, the 2018, and I have it marked. If you go to, well, let's go to another question, but I've also put down the 2019 update. Yes, Thomas.
Throughout the years, service area has changed a lot.
What's changed a lot?
Service area.
The service area has changed a lot.
We used to go back to the service. There used to be a time when I first met Emmett, the years back in the 80s. When you was serving right here, you stand right here. Now they got the straddle line, but you got to stand behind the straddle line in order to get the ball forward. Recently, I've heard heard somebody talk about once the ball passes the straddle line or passes the short line, I can sit back and hit the ball. So am I allowed to pass the straddle line and hit it without penalty? Or if I do sit back and I cross the straddle line on the speed, that would make it my line.
So, excellent question. Let's see if we can, in a nutshell.
You pass the straddle line, hit the ball, I hit the ball, pass it.
So you're the receiving team. When can you pass? When can you pass the service line?
After the ball,
That's your question. Take a look at section 4, play regulations. No, you're just on the front page, and you see section 4, play regulations. Take a look at return of serve, and there's your answer. Return of serve. We'll answer. Who has the answer for a ticket?
I have the answer.
Yeah, Dwight, for a ticket.
Once the ball passes the short line, you can attack it.
Once the ball passes the short line, the receiving team can then pass the service line. The service line is an imaginary line that extends from the 2-inch service line to the other 2-inch service line. The rest is imaginary, but it's straight across. So if you take a look at section 4.4, return of serve, A, B, and C will give you the answer to that question. Yes.
That line always bothers me.
Can we give Thomas a ticket for that question? Yes.
So, in other words, you're saying that
So say nice and loud at the beginning of what you said. What bothered you?
what bothers me is that every tournament I go to, the rule that I understood was that once the ball comes over the short line, you can't take it by running over the straddle line. Like, for example, let's say you serve the ball. It has not come over the straddle line where the guys stand on the side. And I've seen people run all the way almost up to the short line and take the ball on a fly.
So let's be clear about something. The answer to Thomas' question, and it's confirmed in 4.4, when the ball passes the short line,
Right.
the short line is not the service line, the straddle line.
Right.
Many people call the service markers straddle, so they
Right.
call it straddle. But the service markers, those are two different lines. So when the ball passes the short line, that's when the receiving team can then step into past the service line.
So you can run all the way up to the short line and take that ball?
No. Until the ball. Now think about how quick this is happening. Because you have a distance of about 12, maybe 10 to 12 feet between the short line and the service line. It's a rare player, if anyone at all, can get to. They can hit that.
Does it have to bounce over the short line?
As long as it passes.
No, as long as it
And
passes.
it does not have to bounce. As long as it passes, which can pass through the air or on the bounce. As long as it passes, at that point, let's see what we can visually here. The ball is passing over the short line, that's when the receiving team can step into the serving area. And it's rare that a player is going to be able to do this immediately as it passes. It's rare, if at all. I'm going to say it's nearly impossible. Can you confirm that? But first here, Joseph?
Does the player have to stand at the straddle line, or does he have to stand at the
I'm so glad you asked that question because you know, maybe not you specifically, but big ball players do not like it very much. Because there are in two places. Defective serves is one of the longest sections in play regulation for a reason. And one of the defective serves is in doubles. The partner, your partner, is serving, you're straddled at the straddle line, the service line. The ball has not passed the partner, but the partner has entered the court already. That is a defective serve. And the penalty for that defective serve is a short, a fault. If you take a look at section, I would recommend knowing section 4.3, because 4.3 happens often. Section A, B, Section C. The penalty for Section C violations is a fault, short. If you have a short, you side out. Second serve, if you only have one shot. Sorry, if you have two shots. Section D, if you violate any of the 10 in Section D, that's an out as a penalty. So the answer to your question is short. And what I tend to do as a referee is then say to the player what they did wrong. And it's usually almost immediately that then they wait, because they don't want to get penalized again. If you allow them to come on, you will have trouble. So, question, ticket, tell me. David, yes.
All right, so I'm going to use your board.
Yes, go ahead.
Left side.
All right. I need the straddle.
Okay.
This is the serving. I'm serving. I'm at the straddle between
wall
the
is
short.
there, right?
Yeah, the wall is here. I'm between the short line and the straddle. Which, from my understanding,
You're between,
I'm the serving.
you're the server.
All right. So my understanding is the short line and the straddle. That's where I'm supposed to stay outside the line until the ball passes. Now, what I'm gathering from you is, as a receiver, I can stand in the receiving zone, which is between the straddle and the long line. Yeah. And once that ball passes the short line, I can immediately attack it. And he still has to wait until it passes his body, the receiver. Is that correct? All right. Just want to know that.
Now watch. It sounds unfair, but as a handball player, it's rare.
It's the rule. It's the rule.
No, but it's rare that a player is going to be able to.
Have you seen England?
No. I begin to understand what you're saying.
Have you seen that?
Yeah. So you know what I'm hearing now is that's an excellent point to bring up for the rules committee, because it does sound unfair for the partner to be waiting until the ball passes him, and yet the ball has passed the shoreline, and now the receiving team can actually gain a positional advantage. That's a great question for the rules committee, but as you stated it is currently the way you put it. It seems unfair. I'll grant that. But that's our job is not then to become a rules committee, because otherwise we'll have 12, 15 different rules application. Can I say something? So, well done for clarification to bring that out, that ticket. So first here and then to Joseph, yes?
I just want to say something. I don't want to come off as being disrespectful.
Larry, louder.
Yeah. So, a proviso, no disrespect, but nice and loud, Larry.
I want to make sure I come off as not being disrespectful to USHA.
Yeah.
With the questions and scenarios that the people keep on bringing up, this is going to take a lot longer than we anticipate.
You mean this clinic?
Yes.
May I make a suggestion before you continue?
Yes, please.
This clinic was never intended to cover everything. This is just a starter. Here's my recommendation to you. Go to the rule, keep reading the rules, and then go through your experience. And then, unfortunately, it may happen that you're not quite sure. It's happened with me. You make a call, then I'm thinking, is that the right call? If you're going to go into being a referee and intentionally either cheat or not prepare well or just intentionally make bad calls, don't referee. But if you're going to go in there in good faith, with good heart, and you're prepared, and then there's the human dimension that you miss a call, and then to the next game, make it better. Make it better. Go back to the rules and keep going and make it better. How many of you as handball players were open plays as soon as you picked up that first handball? We developed as handball players. Well, we can develop as referees. And if there are 25 people here, that's 25 people that were better than a half hour ago. And you keep reading those rules, as I do often, especially before a tournament, I get nervous before. Because I know those players, some of them are working really, really hard. I don't want to screw them. I don't want to mess up with their game. I want to be their best advocate for a fair game. For both teams, for both sides. I preempted, but you wanted to say something else.
I think I got the point across with my question.
Today wasn't
The reason why I said what I said is I'm here for a reason. I want to hear everything that you have to offer with this camp. And I just feel like the questions, again, with no disrespect to anybody's curiosity, it's slowing down the process.
Well, I actually think the questions are, they bring our experiences both as refs and players and make it more real than the antiseptic approach. Yeah.
It was very clear on Facebook, 9 to 10.
Okay.
Can I say something? So we didn't start until 9:15, and I agree somewhat with Larry, right? But as Tony said, this is the very basics. If there are specific questions and you want to get on a conference call with the game committee of the USHA and discuss the details, we'll spend 10 hours with you. We'll make conference call after conference call to go over each specific question.
Then because time is limited, allow me to say one more thing, if you don't mind. You're a handball player who injured your hand. And you want to play, but your hand is injured. You have a bone bruise. Now, you do get bone bruises with big ball, don't you?
Yes.
Okay. You certainly get it with small ball. Are you permitted to protect your hand?
Yes.
Are you permitted to protect your hand?
No.
With metal?
No.
Yes.
If you're saying yes or no, where is it in the rules? Wait. Where is it in the rules if you're saying yes or no? So here's my point and the final thing that I want to be able to share with you. You're going to read in the rules, not only rule number 1.1, but there are interpretations in the rules. And those interpretations are just as important and crucial as the rest of where it says rules. There are 22 interpretations. The interpretations and hence explain and enrich the rule, but they're part of the rules itself. I'm not asking you to agree to become part of the rules committee. You would have to make a judgment call. Metal is permitted to be used to protect the hand.
Is that just for small ball?
No, it's small ball or big ball. But let me ask you, you have a duty as a referee. You have a duty to say, that gives you an unfair advantage. Please remove that. Would you consider this an unfair advantage? Would you consider this an unfair advantage? No, notice that. Watch this. Would you consider this, these are some of the calls that you have to make. Would you consider this an unfair advantage? Would you consider this an unfair advantage? Feel this? It's funny you say that because inside of this is metal. This is a splint. And we use this in the Catholic school, and the referee deemed this to be unfair because of the metal inside. Here's my point. There are 22 interpretations that you should attend to. And interpretation number 2 deals with this particular issue. So, although it's in that rule book, I've taken the liberty of putting them together for you so that you can read the rule and then read the interpretation right underneath it. This is simply highlighting what's already in there. Those 22 are dispersed throughout the entire rule book. These are all put together for you just for ease. These are not any different. So why don't you take one of these? That was the last. What I wanted to share with you is please do not disregard the interpretations. They're important. Okay? No. So, wait. This big chunk right here, if you take a look, interpretation number 2, you have the responsibility to make the judgment call if what is placed underneath the player's glove is allowed or disallowed. A player should go to you as a referee and say, hey ref, I have a bone bruise. I have metal underneath my glove. Is it permitted? You're permitted to see it, to make the determination, and that judgment call is not appealable. Is that good?
Great.
Yeah.
I just, before when you was talking about the service area or war I believe that mainly was not applied to big ball because in big ball there's more of a lax serve, so the player has the opportunity to actually rush the minute that ball comes over, as opposed to in small ball where that ball is coming at 30 miles an hour, and it's usually power generated serve versus an underhanded serve, and you get very few lax serve in small ball. Because if you rush in like that, you're going to get the small ball jammed out of the
Yeah, fair enough.
So that's pretty much why us big ball players always adhere to staying behind the straddle line, because more often than not, you're going to body pop serve there. So it's a detriment to you as a server, because it is in the rule books and you can jump over it, but it was just never enforced that way because of that.
That's fair enough. One of the major points that I'm trying to make, and perhaps we could end with one more after this, but we need to be consistent. And if we become inconsistent, perhaps that's where the tournament director will say, here's what we do with this particular rule.
Right. And another thing to elaborate on that, I remember when I first started playing, more often than not, we ref from the side, where you could actually see the imaginary line, let's say. Whereas now, more often than not, you ref from the rear of the court, where you also have to use some judgment if the ball is technically over that imaginary line.
Yes, and we didn't get to the mechanics of refereeing, but the rules actually indicate very specifically that you should be standing behind players. The rules call it the most advantageous. There are some disadvantages. Perhaps you can rely on the line judges for those other areas. Just one more point before I get to your question, and then we'll end here because you have to go. Yes. There is no situation, are you here? There is no situation that is not covered in the rule book. Every single situation, every scenario that you can come up with, I guarantee you. And are you ready? Are you filming this? You may have this piece of paper. You may have this. Give me one situation that is not covered by the rules. Any one situation, you may have this. It's on film. One situation that's not covered. One situation. You've had many years of experience. Good, Raul. One situation.
I'm going to say this where I'm
Give him 100.
I'm going to say that because he just hesitant to give it up now.
In 2.4,
Equipment is covered.
Yeah, but footwear.
it's covered. E of 2.4.
That is covered. If you take a look at description 1.2, only hand, front, or fist. Are you ready? Here's the reason why I'm so confident not to lose this piece of paper. It's important for you to know in conjunction with the tournament director. And if there is a situation that is not covered by the rule, a rule covers that. And that's in section 3, officials and officiating 3.4F, other rulings. If something happens that is not covered in the rules, then you can make a fair call which can be overruled by the tournament director. So there can never be a situation that, I don't know, 3.4F is important for us. One final word. We're not dictators. We're not kings. This is not our kingdom. We're there as arbiters, fair arbiters. So be fair, be impartial, do your best, know the rules, reread them over again, discuss the rules after a game, to use Larry's words, not to be disrespectful, but in order to make this game ever more perfect each and every time, you get the opportunity to say, Play ball. 0. Serving 0.
If anybody has some of these specific questions, I know guys have to go. You could sit around and chat about it a little bit, or you can also Facebook message them to me and your questions, your concerns,
Really final
your
word.
dislikes. I'll share it with the game committee and I'll get back to you right away.
So, why did you do it?
That's good.
So, your choice. Eye guards, gloves, or ball. Take a look at your tickets, please.
I think you just pull the
We're
ticket.
going to call it up.
We put the duplicate in there. Pull it up and down. Good choice. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your choice now. Eye guards, gloves, or ball. Here's the number. Here's the
Ticket.
number.
38, 23, 29.
What is it?
Say the last 4.
29.
23, 29.
Somebody has to have it.
Somebody has that ticket.
23, 29.
He has extra tickets.
Got 30 tickets.
He's the one that got 5 tickets. He's the only one.
No. 23, 29.
Jared, don't you still have tickets that are in your pocket? So it might be a ticket.
So that's right. You know what? Let me give out the rest of these.
I take one.
Because we have to get very
I should get a ticket for that. That's at least worth 5 tickets. What I just said.
everybody.
Jared, what I just said is worth 5 tickets.
Everybody gets a ticket at the end anyway, right?
Everybody had to get.
I have to pull more out.
No. Everybody. This is for the everybody getting their tickets. I had just.
Here we go.
I'll give you.
Here we go.
Tip me.
Here we go.
I think that's the one you took. You gotta take 2. You take 2 on that call.
All right, here we go.
Gotta take 2.
2 for being
23-19.
Cheryl, Karen, and I.
23-19. Come on up, Mama.
23. Damn, I have 18. Come on.
One, so they
Dwight.
can only fit one. That was the point of having multiple
Dwight,
tickets.
I have 18.
Go ahead, Malo.
What do you have? I can exchange. I have in the car. I have
23-33.
I have a side.
23 what?
Dwight, you're not picking them right.
And got it.
Anthony?
All right. Yeah, get those eye guards in. The next tournament's coming up for the eye guards.
One more.
Last one.
Last one.
Here you go. 2 more. 23-42.
What's up with all these 23s, man?
That's what I'm trying to
You go to 22, 21? Hey, I got 22. 23, 12.
Shake that box.
Oh, he got another one? Oh, wow.
It's only one.
Yo, Ed, I'm gonna see you later, Ed. Ed, give it a pair of gloves, Ed.
One for a ref, right?
Ed, we go way back, bro.
All right, last one. 22,
95,
87.
Oh my God.
I got 88. This is great.
Now, you want to know what it is? I got 86.
Listen, they're all Gatorades here. Hospitality. Please help yourself and water.
One, I'm thirsty, man.
If you leave your email address, I'll send a digital copy of that so you can continue updating yourself.
You guys better chance of getting
To get you your official certificate. Official certificate. I know.
Oh, Mr. Grimm, I have a question.
Larry, follow me.
Second. It's not, that was my own, my suspicion is,
You have Larry, Emmett, and Buddy. You guys are certified official today.
If you're a USHA member already,
so then,
If you are a USHA member already, you're going to get certified today.
come get an action.
You can join today too and be certified.
And join me.
Honors.
Buddy!
Mr. Grimm?
Stiff left sitting there.